Welcome back, everybody. Ed Martin here at Phyllis, Schlafly, Collegians Summit. We're having a great time. Listen to this tweet now here. This is a tweet from Greta Thunberg. Greta Thunberg, it's quote, she's quoting someone. A top climate scientist is warning that climate change will wipe out all of humanity unless we stop using fossil fuels over the next 5 years. She wrote that on June 21st, just hours from now, June 21st, 2018. 5 years is up. I think we survived. So Greta Thunberg, we'll talk about her in a moment. Our next guest is Vijay Jayaraj. Vijay Jayaraj is an environmental researcher. He's a scientist. He's currently an associate over at the CO2 Coalition, the nonprofit that's based in Arlington, Virginia. Gregory Wrightstone is their intrepid executive director. He's a great author himself, a great guest on my radio show and other places. Vijay is a former research assistant at the University of British Columbia in Canada. He's got a master's in environmental science from the University of East Anglia. He lives and works out of India, where he is coming to us right now. Published all over the place. Came over to the States and gave a really interesting talk. It was recorded, I think, the Heartland Institute. That caught my eye. He and I have had meals together. Also an engineer, which helps him think clearly. Vijay, welcome to the program. How are you?
Hello. It's great to be on the program, and it's a really important topic that you are discussing, and I'm glad to share my opinion on that.
Great. Well, so Vijay, our audience is university students, so 18 to 22, 23 years old. They, in America especially, are inundated with the climate rhetoric. And the phrase I saw you use in that video that I grabbed onto was climate colonialism. I think I got it. Climate colonialism. The notion that the West is saying to the rest of the world, you must act like this, and your opinion be damned. First of all, talk a little bit about that and how important it is and your perspective.
Yeah, when we talk about colonialism, we are obviously referring to the colonial past in our world, where some nations occupied a large number of countries, and obviously we move towards democracy, and colonialism is a history. But now, with the emergence of global politics and unelected institutes that politically govern the rest of the world, there's a re-emergence of colonialism in a way where certain Western leaders, and not the people, let's be clear about that, exert their control over policies, in fact, domestic policies in countries in Africa and Asia. So in this case, when climate policies are introduced and these policies restrict the energy use in the developing world, people are now beginning to term them as climate colonialism or carbon imperialism. So it pretty much means that in the name of climate, the people are asked to stop their greenhouse gas emissions, especially those from fossil fuels.
Our guest is Vijay Jayaraj. Vijay, you studied in England. You're from India. You've traveled and spoken, lectured, and been in America. What is the impact of the Greta Thunberg phenomenon? Her role in promoting I would call it a myth, but whatever you call it, a narrative of climate change and climate in general. What's the impact of that?
The impact is huge because we must realize that when it comes to climate change, it is just not the policymakers who are at the helm in different countries. We are also talking about a large section of population that has access to the social media and the news and the viral media. So what happens is that when people like Greta Thunberg are elevated to a celebrity status and has wide coverage in the media and even promoted by global leaders, this has a big impact on young people and school-going people, and even an average professional who has no expertise in climate change to agree and acknowledge with her activism, which is carefully crafted to impact people's mind. So when we talk about impact, the impact is on the thinking level, where people are persuaded by the arguments that she makes. That's because people uh, do not have the time or means to access some of the data regarding the claims that she's claiming.
We're talking again with Vijay Jayaraj, environmental scientist, and works with the CO2 Coalition. What's the number one thing you would say to young people to understand about all of these conversations? I'm watching somebody who sent me a comment I was asking about this phrase climate colonialism, but young people, they're just inundated by it's doom and gloom and Greta Thunberg. How do you tell them to think about these issues?
The number one thing to do when you hear the doom and gloom claims surrounding climate is to check the facts for yourself. And this is where the difficult part comes in, because obviously there is a wide spectrum of thought process and wide spectrum of claims regarding climate. And I would encourage people to listen to differing views and to use the scientific publications. One of the easiest way to access scientific publications is Google Scholar. So you can go to Google Scholar, you can search for papers on climate between 2000 and 2023, and you can see a wide spectrum of views on climate, and these are from regional publications and international publications, and you can see that there's a huge variability in climate and the various aspects related to climate. And to be more specific, if you look at the extreme weather events, not many people in our world know that the United Nations claims that there has not been a dangerous increase in extreme weather events due to man-made climate change. Now, this might seem surprising, but that is in a UN report itself. But the fact that the global media and the politicians and the celebrities have been able to bypass this very fact and claim that the world is getting bad. There are more horrific wildfires like the ones we saw in Canada in the recent past, and even hurricanes. The number of landfall of mega hurricanes in US has not increased drastically. In fact, there has been a slight decrease in the landfall of major hurricanes. So these are claims that may seem surprising, but people can check them out for themselves.
We're talking again with Vijay Jayaraj, again, environmental researcher over at the CO2 Coalition, based in India, coming to us live from India. Vijay, India just passed China, at least if China will probably lie about it next month and tell us they have more, but India just passed China in terms of population. Massive amounts of growth going on in India. What's the reality there of your carbon needs? I mean, how you mentioned the phrase climate colonialism, carbon imperialism. If that's foisted on India, does it grind development to a halt?
Yeah, it will. There are a couple of key factors here. Not only is India's population more than China now, India's population of poor people is extremely higher than China, which means we have a huge section of population who are transitioning from poverty, lower income category to middle income category, and that means we have over 500 million, over 800 million people who will begin to buy basic electronic equipments like a washing machine or a fridge. So that increases the demand for electricity. And from the current available technologies such as wind and solar, we do not have the means to support such high energy demand. So we're talking about cities with 10 million population, 20 million population, and even 30 million population if you consider the national capital region in India. So these mega pockets of human civilizations cannot be supported with wind and solar. So obviously there's a need for reliable and affordable energy technologies and traditional energy sources such as coal, oil, and gas. Yeah.
Vijay Jayaraj, our guest. Couple last minute questions before we finish up. Number one, I think you told me the number of English speakers in India out of the 1.4 plus billion people. How many speak English?
I think most of them. Like my grandmother grew up in a village, and she knows basic words in English. So we are when it comes to millennials and the generation thereafter, almost everyone knows English. Yeah.
So I've been thinking for college kids out there that often hear learn Chinese to go to China or work in China or learn languages. You go to India, we're talking about 1.4 billion people. The last thing is the Prime Minister Modi is in Washington, D.C. this week for a big hosted at the White House and a speech to Congress. He won recently. He's in charge, huh?
Yes, Modi has been in charge and is quite popular. In fact, one of the most popular political leaders in this part of Asia. And his administration has been, trying to talk with the international politicians about the need of energy in India, how India cannot jump, the train and make everything renewable. So it'll be quite fascinating to see the outcome of his current US visit. Yeah.
Well, Greta Thunberg's wrong again, so she should start listening to you and the CO2 Coalition. Vijay, thank you very much. I know you got up to be with us, and we appreciate it. I tell our college students that are watching, watch India, what's happening in India, the development as fast as it's happening. It's extraordinary ally of our nation now and economy that will be important in the future. So thank you for being out there on this issue and for taking the time with us.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, Vijay Jayaraj, I will put up on social media links to his work at the CO2 Coalition, and pretty cool there all the way from India that he got up early to spend time with us. So we'll take a quick break, come back. Congressman Matt Gaetz is with us here in the office. We're doing the Phyllis Schlafly Collegians Summit 2023. A lot more after this quick break.